You miss me? I miss all of y'all. All y'all girls standing together like that. I can't take it.
Hey you guys, it's Missy Lynn, and today I'm here with an Air Force Q&A video. I posted a picture on Instagram a few months ago just asking if you guys had any questions in regards to the Air Force. I can't speak for all branches, but I just wanted to know if you guys had any remaining questions that I did not answer in my previous videos that I filmed a few years ago. And you guys left me quite a bit. I have like over 225 questions on that post, so I just thought it would be a great idea to go ahead and answer those questions for you guys. So if you're interested, then stay tuned.
You miss me? I miss all of y'all.
Okay, so before I go ahead and answer the questions that were left on the post, and I'm only answering the questions that I did not touch bases on in the previous videos, and I will be sure to put all those videos down beneath this video in the description box. That way you guys can go back and watch. I have progressed over the past few years, so please bear with me, because how fluent I am with speaking with the camera now, I was not that fluent back then. I was like and you know, quite monotone in my opinion. So just bear with me in those videos. I'm a lot more comfortable on camera now. So just a quick back brief about my military career. So I joined in 2007 right after high school. I was 17 years old, and my mom signed the waiver for me to enter the military because I graduated school a year early. I graduated as a junior, and I knew that I wanted to join the Air Force. I was in Navy ROTC in high school, and I loved the structure. I have a family full of military people. They were all Army, and I just wanted to do something different. The Air Force was just a branch that basically caught my attention. Just from what I was hearing at the time, the Air Force was like the intelligence branch, which dealt with like satellite and a lot of like the GPS equipment and things like that. So it was more of the intelligence side, and so that's the branch that I wanted to be in. It seemed as if though we could still keep our femininity. You know, we could wear our earrings, we could wear nail polish. I don't have any on today, but you know, we could wear makeup, we could wear earrings, we could keep our nails done, things like that. So that's something that I wanted to keep with me and still serve my country. So that's why I went with the Air Force. I've been in the Air Force almost 8 years. I do not plan on making this a career. I said that from day one, that I did not plan on making it a career unless I was an officer. I'm enlisted, so my time is almost up and I will be getting out of the military fairly soon. That's just my personal preference. That's my decision. I have a lot going for me. I have a great savings account. I've been saving since I first entered the military, and if you save like you're supposed to, when you get out, you will have a lot to fall back on. So I just want to throw that out there. And I'm going to go back to school full time, so I'm really excited. But I wanted to make this video to help you guys out, for those of you who may be thinking about joining the military. So I'm just going to read off some of the questions that were left, and I'm going to answer it. This video might be all over the place, but I will try to group the questions in certain categories. That way you guys can kind of skip through. And I will also put a timeline beneath the video in the description box. That way you can skim through the video to get to the question that you are most interested in. Okay, so the first question that someone wants to know is, what is the difference between active duty and reserve? So active duty, you are working 40 hours a week. That is your full-time job. You go to work, like for me, I go to work Monday through Friday 7 to 4, and I'm off on the weekends. As a reservist, you are only reporting in once a month. On the weekends, you will report that Saturday and that Sunday once a month, and you only get paid for that weekend, as opposed to being paid full-time for 40 hours per week, basically. Another question is, what's your job in the Air Force? I am a 48051, which is healthcare management. We have various jobs that we can do in the hospital or in the clinic, wherever you're working, depending on the base. And yeah, so we can do anything from, you know, working in the medical records room to patient check-in, check-out. You can work in the systems area, which is like the computers, making sure that all the programs on the computers are running properly, you know, throughout the clinic or the hospital. You can work in TOPA, which is like TOPA TRICARE, which is basically referring patients out to get services rendered that we do not render in-house. So there's a lot of different areas that you could work in if you go in as a 480. So you can just look it up on Google, and they will give you a description of the job and what it is that you could do in the Air Force. Okay, so another follower wants to know how I do all the traveling that I do if I'm active duty. They felt as if that was being misleading because they felt that if I'm working 8 hours a day and 5 days a week, I should not be able to travel that much. And them being a wife of a military husband who only got 30 days paid vacation a year, they felt that I was being dishonest as far as being able to travel. So I just want to put, you know, pop the bubble real quick. So when you are in the military, you get 30 days paid vacation a year, and if you do not use those 30 days whenever you are traveling, it rolls over into the next year, which after a certain amount of time, after you accumulate so many days, there's something called use or lose, and you will have to take all those days off or you will lose all of those days. So your supervisor can grant you, you know, up to a month off. They can grant you a week at a time off just to ensure that you use all of your days before you lose those days. Now, speaking only from the Air Force side, if I ask for leave and they tell me no, I cannot take leave, they have to have a valid reason why I cannot take leave. According to the AFI, leave has to be granted. So if there's no extenuating circumstances, if, you know, there's manning to cover the office and they have all the personnel there, they're not going to be short manned, if there's no exercises going on, no training going on, nothing really keeping them from telling you no, then they have to grant you leave. And I'm able to take off the time that I take off because anytime there's events that are out of state, I know months in advance and I will put in for those days. As long as I know ahead of time when the event is happening, I can put it on the books early and they know that I have, you know, okay, I'm taking 3 days off in July. Oh, she's taking 4 days off in September, and that's how I'm able to travel. And a lot of the events that I go to are here locally, and it may seem like I'm never at work, which I am, but a lot of the posts that I do are photos that I'm kind of scheduling to post, things that you guys don't really see. Events that I go to after work, events that I go to on the weekends. So that's where all of the civilian clothes posts come from. And with me doing YouTube and it being my job and me doing a lot of advertisement with beauty products and stuff, it is now a job, and I had to fill out a second job form in the military, which had to go through legal and stuff. And once you kind of start doing that and you have a second job, you have to be careful because there's some lines that you do not want to cross. There's some boundaries that you do not want to cross with having a job, which is the military, and having a second job, which is, like for me, the beauty YouTube side. I have to be careful with how much I post, what I post about as far as military, because the military doesn't want it to seem as if though I'm using my military status as a way to get ahead or a way to get over on companies, or a way to like make me seem high and mighty as opposed to other people, nor do they want it to seem as if though I'm endorsing products from the military point of view. So it's a lot of gray areas, a lot of boundaries that I do not want to cross, and that's the reason why you don't see a lot of my military side like on my Instagram or on my YouTube channel anymore. I don't know if you remember, but I did have like a military picture and a civilian picture as my banner side by side, but I had to take it down because the military told me to take it down because it kind of came off as if though I was saying that the military is endorsing, you know, certain products and things like that, and they did not want it to be misleading to my YouTube viewers. So anytime I have military videos, I have to pass it through them. They have to approve it, and then I can post it. Someone wants to know, why don't I ever show my rank or my name in my photos on Instagram whenever I'm in uniform? Because the one time I showed my name and my rank in my video a long time ago, there were a few military people who found me through Global, and they decided to email me at work asking me about beauty questions. And now for me, it was kind of frustrating in a way because, you know, everything is monitored in the Air Force, and I did not want them to see that people were emailing me about my second job and getting like beauty tips and stuff like that. So I felt like I need to kind of keep the two separate. So that's why you will never see me post my name or my rank in any of my photos, because I do not want any military people contacting me through Global, or any Air Force people contacting me through Global about beauty stuff. You know, that's why I have social media. You can ask me questions there. Another question is, how do you balance doing YouTube and being military? So like I said, I work Monday through Friday, 7 to 4. A lot of the events that I go to are basically after work. They start at 6 or 7 o'clock. So I literally live 4 miles from the base. I come home and I will get dressed and I will go to the event. Or sometimes I will bring my clothes with me to work. I make sure to do my makeup earlier that day, like on my lunch break or before I even go to work, and then all I have to do is get dressed in the car and then I go to the event, depending on what time the event starts. But a lot of the events that I go to are like after work, and if they're on the weekend, then of course they're on the weekend. If they are a little bit further out, like Vegas or, you know, a different part of California, then I would just travel on the weekend. I will go and I will come right back. If it's out of state events and I know about it ahead of time, like I said, I will put it on the books and I would request those days off and I would just go for 2 or 3 days and I would come back. As far as filming and editing, I use my weekends to film my videos because I like to use natural lighting, and then I use my days throughout the week after work. The days that I do not go to events, I use those days to edit, and then I will put the video up, and then when the weekend rolls around again, I will film 2 or 3 videos, and then I will edit throughout the week. I am in school. I go to school twice a week, so that's something else that I have to take into account. I have to make sure that I'm getting my schoolwork done, going to the events, going to work, finding time to film, and finding time to edit. But all in all, I sacrifice sleep. I really don't watch television like that. I make sure to kind of devote my time to you guys, to edit content, to film content. That way I can put it up on my YouTube channel. You know, a lot of people come home after work and they just lounge around, watch reality TV shows, you know, go to the mall or whatever. I really don't do that. I kind of use my downtime to dedicate to my YouTube channel. Do you plan on retiring from the military? No, I answered that. I plan on getting out soon because my contract will soon be up. I commend everyone who stays in 20 years, but for me, that is just not something that I want to do. That is not something that I have wanted to do when I first joined, unless I was a commissioned officer. But now that I've been in for almost 8 years, I don't see myself wanting to stay in for 20 years. How many bases have you been stationed at? Did you like them? What did you dislike about them? Is it hard being active duty and pursuing another career at the same time? I will definitely say that sometimes juggling, you know, the two is a bit hectic, but like I said, I sacrifice sleep. I've only been stationed at Charleston Air Force Base and Los Angeles Air Force Base. I really love Charleston, South Carolina. I love the area. I love the base. I will say that the only thing I disliked about the base was that everyone was in everybody's business and there was always something going on, but the work environment that I worked in was amazing. Like, I worked with some really amazing people, so I liked it. And then now being here at Los Angeles, my base is really tiny. We have like 5 or 6 buildings. You know, the base is really small, but no one's in nobody's business. Everyone goes their separate ways. LA is so big that you don't run into people that you work with after work, guaranteed. Like, I haven't ran into not one person that I've worked with, and I've been here almost 4 years, so it's crazy. And I really like the base. It's very chill, very laid back. Everyone is just very supportive and I like it. So I really liked both bases that I've been at. There are some things that I didn't like about Charleston, but hey, you know, that kind of comes with the territory. Have I been deployed? Yes, I have been deployed. I've gone to Balad, Iraq in 2008, and I was there for a total of 3 months, and my tour was for 4 months, but I left early because my brother was shot and killed in Louisiana while I was there, so I had to leave early. But yes, I was deployed, and I want to say that if you are not interested in getting deployed, then I would say that the military is not for you, because there is a chance, a high chance, that you will deploy at some point in your military career. So that's just something that you have to accept. You have to be passionate about joining the military, because that is basically a responsibility that you will be taking on by serving the country, by getting deployed. So yeah. Okay, so someone wants to know how long basic training was whenever I went in and what it was like for us, and then I'm going to tell you what it is now. So whenever I went into basic training, it was 6 weeks long, really 7, because 0 week doesn't count. Basic training was pretty intense. You know, you have to make sure that you are physically fit before you go, because if not, then they will give you a hard time. There were women there, people there who could not do 2 or 3 push-ups, you know. So that's something that you should work on before you actually go. You should get with your recruiter and start working out with your recruiter before you go. That way you are meeting the standards whenever you are in basic training. So I know now basic training is 8 weeks long. I would say between 8 and 9 weeks long, depending on if you guys still have the 0 week. And my cousin who just graduated, he told me that on a typical day, your schedule is you wake up at 5:45, you go to physical training at 6 o'clock every day, and then you go to breakfast, and then you shower. And then after that, you have a different routine every day, a different schedule. You go to like your core classes, different briefings, you know, you have different things that you have to learn about the Air Force in general. And then you go to bed at 9 o'clock. Of course, you eat dinner and lunch. You also have church on Sundays, or you have your additional duties around the dorm room or your bay, depending on what you guys still call it. Some people are in charge of cleaning the bathroom. Some people are in charge of lining up all the beds. Some people are in charge of, you know, laundry. So it's just different jobs, different tasks that you are assigned to do. Some people, you know, want to go to church. Some people aren't that religious. So you can kind of like, I kind of look at going to church as like a break, because it's like a place where you can kind of just go and vent. I would definitely say if you have the opportunity to go to church every Sunday, definitely go, because I always say don't think about how many days you are there at basic training. You basically want to live Sunday to Sunday. So if you go to church every Sunday, you know, you can just say, okay, 8 Sundays, 7 Sundays, 6 Sundays, and before you know it, it's time to go and you're graduating. You cannot have your cell phone when you are in basic training, but you do get to write quite frequently. I know whenever I went, we didn't get to write like that. We got to write maybe twice a month, but I was always that person who was sneaking and writing letters, which I shouldn't have been doing, and I would get in trouble sometimes. But don't do what I was doing, you know. Only write whenever you're allowed to write. But my cousin said that they actually got a chance to write pretty often, like almost every day. I would definitely open up a bank account before you go to basic training. That way your checks can automatically start being deposited while you're in basic training. If you don't have an account open, then they can help you set up an account. But it's always best to go with everything already done. Be prepared. That way they don't have to like make a big fuss about it. You want to stay out of that limelight as much as possible. So whatever the recruiter tells you to do before, make sure that you do it. That way it's less hassle on you, and it doesn't cause a lot of attention and make them kind of jump down your throat, because those MTIs there, MTLs, whatever they call it, sometimes they just pick for no reason. You know, any little reason that they can jump down your throat, they will. But you have to remember that it's all a game. They're being paid to fuss at you and instill that discipline in you to make sure that you are following directions. Okay. So another question that I got was basically about hairstyles whenever you go to basic training. So whenever I went to basic training, I had short hair. My hair was like underneath my ear, and because we can't use heat like that in basic training, like you can't really use heat until right before graduation, when you're about to take your graduation pictures, because they want you to style your hair. But basically you just have to have a style where you can get up and go, basically. So I had ear length hair, and as it started to grow out, I wore ponytails. I wore my real hair out. I was relaxed, so I put a relaxer before I went to basic training at the time, and then I didn't put another relaxer until after I left basic training. There were some women who came with micro braids and last them a while. I would not recommend you putting a sew-in in. That's just my opinion, only because whenever you're in a rush and you're taking a shower and you're trying to wash your hair, if you have braids in your hair cannot properly dry, because you don't have enough time to sit underneath a hair dryer or a blow dryer and dry the braids underneath your extensions. So you want to make sure that your hair does not mildew or get matted for those 8 weeks that you are basic training. So I would definitely not recommend a sew-in my opinion. I would do some type of like micro braids, or just wear your hair out, just get some good gel and slap it back in a ponytail. It's not a fashion show, trust me. You will not care how you look at that moment. Everybody's gonna be looking busted and toe up in basic training. Nobody looks attractive at all. So I would just go with the flow. I would definitely talk to the recruiter to see if there are any other hairstyles like Senegalese twists or anything that you can rock while you are there. But I know whenever I spoke to my cousin said a lot of natural hair girls had braids in their hair. So I would definitely do a ponytail, braids. If you can get away with twists, I would talk to the recruiter, see if you can do like small twists, and I would go from there. I would not recommend a sew-in. That's just my opinion, because you don't want your braids to get mildewed and matted by not being able to properly dry it when you're in and out that shower, because you don't have a lot of time to wash your hair. So that's just my opinion. How do you study or prep for the ASVAB? What site or books did you use to refresh on the AFQT subjects? So the one site that I used a lot was Google. You can Google the ASVAB and they have practice tests that you can take. You can also take the practice test at the recruiter's office, and you can also go and get the ASVAB for dummies from like Barnes and Nobles, or you can go to your public library and they have the ASVAB books there. But I personally, I only use these study material that I found through Google and through my recruiter. I would definitely say that I would devote at least 2 hours every day up until the time that you take the real ASVAB test. And whatever you score at the recruiter's office on your practice test, I was actually told that it's a lot harder at the recruiter's office than the real test. So whatever you score at the recruiter's office, like I would add like, you know, 5 to 10 points to that, and that's probably what you will score on the real ASVAB. So studying is very important. The higher the score, the better jobs, the more jobs that you get, and you'll have more variety to choose from. Someone wants to know a few ASVAB tips. So like I told you before, be sure to study, devote like 2 hours before you actually go to take the test. Make sure that you take the practice test with your recruiter. The day that you go, please make sure to shower. Just wake yourself up, eat a good breakfast, and dress warm. I was so cold in that room whenever I was taking my ASVAB test. I could not concentrate, I swear to you. So make sure that you wear jeans, make sure that you wear some tennis shoes, no open toe shoes because your toes will freeze. It's normally really cold, and a sweatshirt or a jacket or something because you want to be able to concentrate. I would definitely say that. I would definitely say try to make sure that you get your job, the job that you want, before you leave for basic training, because I didn't get the job that I wanted before I left for basic training, but I lucked out. So I went in as open general. I wanted a pharmacy job, but the pharmacy jobs were full. There wasn't any room left for me, so my recruiter recommended that I go in as open general, and he's basically said that someone who had a pharmacy job would probably fail out of basic training and go home, so then that job would become available to me. Well, I went to the MEP station, I took my physical and everything like that, and I remember there was one part where I had to lift this weight. Well, I don't know why, but I made sure that I did not lift that weight, and I just felt like, well, why are they making us lift weights? I didn't know, but it just didn't feel right for me, and I didn't lift. I lift, but I was like, oh, I can't lift, you know? And thank God, because whenever I got to basic training, everybody that had gone in with open general, they were put in security forces. Not saying security forces is bad, you know, by all means, people want to go in as cops, but security forces in the Air Force, you deploy like almost every other year. And it's just not a job that I wanted to do. You're outdoors, you know, you're working 12 hours a week. It's just something that I did not want to do. But just going in as open general, you're basically open. You could, like, they can task you with any job they want to task you with, and that weight that we were lifting was basically to see how many pounds you could lift, and that kind of put you in that category for security forces in case you had to carry, you know, a lot of equipment or people or whatever the case may be. So I lucked out and I ended up getting my 4AO job. So I was very, very fortunate for that. So I would definitely say be sure to get the job that you want before you leave. If that job is not available, tell your recruiter that you will wait until that job becomes available, or have a second or third backup just in case. But I just would recommend not to go in open anything. Don't go in open mechanics or open general or open whatever. Get the job that you want, wait for that job that you want, because you never want to go into a job that you dislike or that you don't want to do. Some people, they end up getting a job and they really end up liking it, but it doesn't happen often. Sometimes people are in jobs that they hate for years, and before they are eligible to retest and get out of that job, cross-train is what it's called, you know, it can be miserable. So I would definitely say make sure that you get the job that you want before you go in. Someone wants to know, does GPA matter when you're joining the military? No, they do not look at your high school GPA. As long as you graduate, as long as you have a diploma, they will accept you. But of course, you have to score, you know, the score that they want you to score on the ASVAB. How long did it take for you to finish tech school? Tech school for me was another 7 to 8 weeks. What's the policy on tattoos? So the policy on tattoos, that the tattoo cannot cover more than 1/4 of the exposed body part. That just means if you're wearing short sleeve shirts at work, that tattoo cannot cover more than 1/4 of that exposed body part. So it cannot cover more than 1/4 of your arm, more than 1/4 of your leg if you're wearing, you know, a skirt, whatever the case may be. I would definitely wait until you go through MEPS. If you don't have any tattoos and you want to put tattoos, I would wait until after you get out of basic training in tech school to get your tattoos. But if you already have tattoos and you're thinking about joining the military, then I would talk to your recruiter, because you want to make sure that your tattoos are within regs. It cannot cover more than 1/4 of the exposed body part. If you have an entire back tattoo and your entire back is covered, that's fine. They won't see that whenever you're working. But I would still talk to the recruiter and let the recruiter know about your tattoos.
You miss me? I miss all of y'all. All y'all girls standing together like